Hey everybody, welcome back to another saxophone gear review. This is going to be a shootout between three different SYOS alto saxophone mouthpieces from Shape Your Own Sound. Really excited, let's get into it. Okay, so if you guys have seen my video review of my Tivon Pennicott SYOS tenor mouthpiece, you'll know that I have some experience with this company. Met them at NAMM this year. They were super cool. And they sent me these three different signature models of alto mouthpieces to do somewhat of a shootout and let you guys know what I think. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So the three mouthpieces that they sent me are Morning Lockett's signature model, Terry Edwards' signature model, and Godwin Lewis's signature model. Now, the cool thing about this review is that these three mouthpieces could not be more different. They are completely and totally kind of opposites of each other. Godwin's is a big open no baffle mouthpiece. Morning Lockett's mouthpiece has a super crazy baffle and is like what you would call a pea shooter. And Terry Edwards' model has one of the most interesting designs that I've ever seen, and we'll get into that later when we do our close-up look of the mouthpieces. But this is going to be really awesome, and I think it's going to be very informative to you if you were thinking about purchasing one of these mouthpieces to see and hear the differences between them. So how we're going to structure this is we're going to do an up close and personal look at all three of the mouthpieces, show you the differences between them, get some of the thoughts on them, and then I'm actually going to play on all three of these using the exact same reed and the exact same horn and let you hear the difference between them, and you can let me know what you think about the difference between these three. I'll give you some of my thoughts as well. Okay, so without wasting any time, let's get into our up close and personal look at all three of these mouthpieces. Okay, now it's time for our close-up look at all three of these mouthpieces. So the first one will be Morning Lockett's mouthpiece. As you can see, it is a nice lime green color. And this is an 8-star, what they consider an 8-star. I'm not sure exactly what the tip opening is in millimeters, but due to the baffle, and I don't know if this is going to come across that well on video, but if you see, there's a large, extreme baffle that drops off right here. So this is obviously going to be a much, much brighter mouthpiece as the air gets kind of squeezed and then shoots through the actual chamber. After the baffle, though, the chamber is actually nice and open, as you can see. Nice big round chamber. This is an interesting mouthpiece because it's kind of the opposite of what I usually play. I don't play any pieces with baffles, and when I have, I sound like a child. But this one was really surprising. It actually is very, very playable for me, even though it's kind of the opposite style of what I normally play. And I'm finding that with these SYOS mouthpieces, that's true a lot of the time. The playability is just excellent. And I'm not sure whether that is due to the material it's made out of, due to the facing curve. You can see this one is not that extreme. I don't know if that's going to come across that well in video, but you can see the curve is pretty gradual. And what I found about this one was I could control it very, very well. So I could play really, really soft and I could push it when I wanted to. And that makes this one ideal for a lot of different situations. Although I did feel slightly uncomfortable because it's such a different style than I normally play, I actually felt a lot more comfortable than I thought I would. And I think that's a testament to the way that they make these mouthpieces. The rails were perfect. I did the suction test and everything sealed. So the quality control seems to be pretty good, especially on this mouthpiece. All right, let's take a look at Terry Edwards' mouthpiece. All right, so this is Terry Edwards' signature model. This one is the funkiest one in the bunch and the one that I had the most trouble with. And let me explain why. So check out this baffle. How crazy is that? It's got steps on it. It's got ridges on it, which is super interesting. I'm not sure exactly what that does to the sound, but man, I've never actually seen anything like that before. The chamber in this one also nice and open once you get past that little baffle. Now this one's interesting. It actually doesn't have a tip opening printed on the mouthpiece. It's the most mellow facing curve out of all three of them, which is pretty interesting. But here's the thing that made it really difficult for me to play it. This first step on this stepped baffle is so close to the tip of the mouthpiece that I think it actually subtracts from the tip opening. You've got this very, very narrow opening at the tip of this. And I'm so used to playing these big, wide open mouthpieces that a lot of the time I would actually close off the tip of the mouthpiece when I went to play, meaning I would press the reed against it. And I'm sure that that's just me, but if you're somebody who likes, stiff reeds and a big tip opening, I don't know about this mouthpiece. It's going to be tricky. But if you're somebody that plays a more closed mouthpiece and likes somewhat of a baffle, this could be the right choice for you. Again, on this, the rails were perfect, did the suction test, everything was cool, no difficulty playing it. Another very, very well-made product from SYOS, and a very interesting baffle system that I have never seen before. It would be cool to actually talk to Terry and see why he chose that stepped baffle and what he was thinking that it would do to his sound that he liked. So there's the Terry Edwards model. Okay, last but not least, actually my favorite mouthpiece out of the bunch is the Godwin Lewis model. And a lot of you that know my playing and know the equipment that I use probably guessed that this one would be my favorite out of the bunch. So the opening is a 9, and the facing curve on this is a little bit more dramatic when it gets to the tip. So a large, large opening. And no baffle, which is what I normally play. I normally play pieces with no baffle. I have the Tavon Pennicott model on tenor, and this seems to be very, very close to that model. So obviously, it's my favorite. It's got the little ridge system in there, which SYOS says increases power without increasing brightness. And I will say I agree with that. This mouthpiece stays very dark no matter how hard you push it. And that's something that I really, really like, and something that suits me very well. Big open round chamber, nothing really going on in there to impede airflow. And again, that dramatic tip opening that leaves a lot of space for a lot of air to travel through it. So, we like what we like, you know what I mean? And it's not surprising to me that this works the best with my physical playing style. I kind of figured that I would like this one the best, and it turns out that I do. And I think you'll hear when I am doing the play test on all of these, you'll hear that I have the most trouble with this one in terms of pitch and response. I just feel like I can't get enough air through. I have, a nominal amount of trouble with this one. This one sounds a little bit better than this one. I feel like I can get a tiny bit more air through it and get a little bit more oomph from the mouthpiece. And then on this one, I feel pretty at home in terms of my sound and the way that it responds to me. So we're going to jump into the playing test now. So what I'm doing is on each of these mouthpieces, I'm playing 2 choruses of a concert F blues, just to give you an idea of how they all sound a little bit different. Now, the interesting thing is that obviously I'm improvising, so I'm going to be playing different stuff, but what I'm playing, I feel like really ties in with the style of the mouthpiece. You'll kind of hear that maybe I feel the most comfortable on this one, middle, and least comfortable on this one. I don't know. You'll have to give me some feedback after the video on which one you think sounds best and which one you think I sound most comfortable on. But for me, it was kind of most comfortable, middle, least comfortable. But I got to tell you, they're all great mouthpieces in their own right. And that's not just to kind of, be a SYOS fanboy. I really feel like these are 3 very, very well-made mouthpieces that, are completely different. And every single one of them is obviously not going to fit all of our styles. This is just to give you an up-close and personal look. Now let's jump into the playtest. Okay, so to kind of put a bow on this video, I'm going to repeat some of the stuff that I said earlier, but I wanted to give you kind of my final thoughts on all three of these mouthpieces. So let's start in order of which I played them. So let's start with Morning Lockets. So I would say that this is a great mouthpiece for somebody that's looking for something they can control, but also push to be extremely bright. So if you are a jazz player, but you also find yourself in a lot of situations where you need to play with a very bright sound, maybe you're playing with a funk band, a rock band, a function band, or something like that, this could be a great mouthpiece for you. You can push this pretty hard, and the level of brightness is extreme if that's what you're looking for. Overall, a great mouthpiece, very well made, and I think SYOS nailed this one. Okay, so the Terry Edwards model, as I already said in the up close and personal look, this was the most uncomfortable for me. I still think that it's a very well-made mouthpiece, and I think it could be right for some of you out there. Now, here's the really cool thing about SYOS. They'll send you mouthpieces and you can send them back, so you don't have to fear. If you like the sound of this one, go for it. You can always send it back, and they're very good about that. Now, as I mentioned, it's just that it's a little bit too closed for me, and that's the complaint I have about it. But I think if I were to use a little bit of a stiffer reed and or play this a lot more, I think that I might get used to it, and it might become a lot more comfortable for me. But just right out of the box, right away, it's the hardest one for me to play. Okay, so Godwin Lewis's model, my favorite out of the bunch. This mouthpiece is right up my alley. Big tip opening, no baffle, gives me that dark sound that I'm looking for. I feel like I can push this as hard as I want to without the sound spreading or getting super bright, which is really the point of it. And this is the one that I would go for if I were buying a mouthpiece. When I think about all of these artists whose signature models these are, Godwin's is kind of the closest that I hear in my head, so it makes sense that I like this mouthpiece the most. Okay, just one more word about these three mouthpieces. You'll notice in my playtest, there are a lot of problems with how I'm playing this. Intonation, evenness from register to register. But you know, I've had these mouthpieces for only about 3 days, and I'm really interested in learning them more. And I think we have to do that with any mouthpiece. You've got to learn your equipment, learn the different tendencies of that equipment. So it becomes difficult to evaluate a mouthpiece as much as I'd like to with only having them for a little while. And also, having 3 of them makes it even more difficult. So just keep in mind, as a little bit of a disclaimer, this is my opinion kind of fresh out of the package. I'm sure that all of these mouthpieces would end up playing great for me when I had an appropriate strength reed, as I learn the tendencies, as I learn what I can and can't do with these mouthpieces. So just keep that in mind when you're listening to it. And you know, I'm saying, oh, I feel most comfortable on this. You might think, well, he sounds the worst on that. But it's a very interesting thing trying equipment, and it's a very difficult thing to evaluate something very quickly. So try to take your time, really learn the mouthpieces, and that goes with any piece of equipment that you're trying. So that's it. That's my review for the 3 of these. Make sure that you leave some comments in the comments below. Let me know what you think. What did I sound best on? What did I sound most comfortable on? Do you own one of these? Let me know what you think about it. Let me know any questions you might have about these mouthpieces. That's something that I love trying to answer for people out there that are maybe thinking about buying one of these. And as always, if you enjoy saxophone videos, gear reviews, lessons, all that kind of stuff, make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications for more of that stuff. So thank you very much to SYOS for sending these mouthpieces over, giving people an up-close and personal look, and I think that they are a really great, innovative company that's doing a lot of cool things in the world of saxophone mouthpieces and saxophone gear. All right, everybody, we will talk to you soon. Have a great one. We'll see you on the next video. Bye.